Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know wants to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized sports training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get better off the ball, or you are an athlete wanting to improve your speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA. Visit DNASportsDenver.com now and sign up.
What up, bro?
What up, brother? 2023.
2023 with number 21 here.
It's official with number 21 here. I like what you did there.
Hey, I like 2023, man, because that might mean it's going to be the GOAT year.
Maybe.
23.
Maybe. The number. I like what you did there
Jay,
as well.
Tongue out, right? Into the new year.
Hey, 2022 is now in the rear view, and 2023 is upon us, brother.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes. Happy New Year to everybody. But something we got to do in 2023 is make sure that we visit DNASportsDenver.com, buy some merch, check out a podcast, leave a mailbag question, whatever it takes, whatever you feel.
Sign up for some training.
Sign up for a training session. Just show some love at DNASportsDenver.com.
Yeah. Once again, we appreciate you tuning in. This show's nothing without you guys that tune in and listen and that participate and give us crap about what we're talking about, whether it be Raider heavy sometimes or just something else heavy. But, we appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate my partner, Dom, over here, man. Once again, first one of the new year. Like you said, man, we're super excited to hit this 2023 hit the ground running. A lot of big things coming up for us this year for sure. We'll be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of DNA here in May, bro, already.
Yep.
Which is wild, but
time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun, man, and when you do stuff that you enjoy doing and that you love doing. So
that's for sure.
Don't ever forget that, man. If you want your time to go by fast, do something you love doing, man.
For sure. And, there's a few things that we're going to talk about this episode that took place this last week. It was pretty impactful few weeks since our last episode. And we're just going to talk about a few things of 2022 before we officially move into 2023.
Yep. Got to close the door on the past.
Yes, sir.
Because we got all kinds of stuff that the past is set up for the next couple weeks. Dom, you're gonna be out of town in here in like a week or two, so
I am.
We won't be able to reconvene on that one, but it'll be fun. We'll touch base on what we got touch base now, and we'll make it happen. We'll be talking some MVP talk later on in the NBA. We'll be talking about the playoffs and in the college football playoffs and the NFL. And potential, and we'll also talk a little bit about movement, whether it be players, coaches, GMs, a bunch of just different stuff. Heavy NFL, heavy college football, heavy on the Nuggets this episode, and as usual, man, we'll be sharing a mailbag question with you and kind of gauging each other's minds, man. But New Year's new you, man. New Year's new us. We hope you guys are hitting your resolutions already full speed. And Don, one of the things that just wanted to bring up recently, because they're back in the news, and they're back in the news for the right reasons now, is you got Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, where, dude, it just seems like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, these guys are being written off like, hey, they're done, their season's done, it's just a matter of time now, a matter of finality, and don't look now, but both of them are poised to make the playoffs.
Yeah, there's something about being great that when you're great, people wait for you to kind of fall off, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people thought that this was that time for both Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Tom Brady going through all of his turmoil off the field, maybe leading to on the field issues, but hey, they're back in the hunt. And one thing you don't want in the hunt come playoff time is these two guys, number 12.
They're dangerous, man, and they're the epitome of just give me a shot, right? They're the epitome of just let me punch my ticket to get in, because once they're in, Lord knows what they can do and what they're both capable of doing, leading their teams. And I know Green Bay's had some recent kind of playoff miscues that they wish they can take back. However, I feel like an underdog Packers team is much more dangerous than the favorite Packers team, if that makes any sense.
Oh, for sure. And that they're playing hungry. That's the underdog aspect of them, is they have that
defenses.
chip on their shoulder, right? We just seen what they did with Minnesota Vikings. You know, Justin Jefferson and Jair Alexander going back and forth on social media, and then at the end of the game, you know, the game speaks for itself, and Aaron Rodgers just comments and says, you know, if you're going to talk, you got to back it up.
Yeah.
And Green Bay came and they did their thing.
They got that swagger right now.
Yeah,
they got that scary swagger right now.
And you know, during this time of the year, you're always looking for what team kind of has that momentum, and that momentum is scary to kind of carry into the playoffs, because
those are the kind of teams that get hot and then they run through the playoffs and unexpectedly. Those are like the Bengals last year,
for sure,
right? Where they don't look like they're going to make the playoffs. All of a sudden they get hot and then they just fucking burn through the playoffs, and the next thing you know, they're playing for the title.
Yeah, they're definitely, but both those guys are going to have to play some really good teams in the NFC. You know, I'm thinking the NFC, you know, everybody was looking for the Chiefs and the Bills to kind of dominate, you know, but the NFC, man, has some solid teams. Like, every team making the playoffs in the NFC, to me, is good, but every team in the NFC that's making the playoffs has some question marks about them. You know, you got the Cowboys, who are a phenomenal team right now. They got a great offense, great defense, but they're the Cowboys. Will they get over the playoff miscues of the past? Who knows? You know, then you got the 49ers, one of the best defense in football right now. Their pass rush is ridiculous, you know, and
Bosa's ridiculous, dude. Like, he's probably defensive player of the year.
Yeah, the best pass rusher in the league right now. And, you know, you got those teams that can potentially knock them off their momentum that they have right now too. So it's going to be exciting to see. You got the Eagles.
Honestly, to me,
the Vikings, it's crazy.
And we'll dive more. But the least scary team in that NFC is the Vikings. Like, and which is it's hard to say, because what are they, 11-4, 12-4, something like that.
Well, I think the least scary team will probably be coming out of the South.
Yeah, well. Not if it's Tom Brady, bro.
Not if it's Tom Brady.
Not if it's Tom Brady, bro. Just because that pedigree, the fact that team. So the thing that's scary about the Buccaneers, and again we'll go heavy in this a little bit later, but the only thing that's scary about the Bucs, bro, is they've done it. Like, their whole team collectively has been there and done it, right?
Oh yeah.
Now they don't got Bruce Arians running things, and I think that's a big key to because I'm not, you know, big on Todd Bowles, but they just got that pedigree, bro, and they got the GOAT back there, and if he can summon it up for 3 more games, that'll get him there, you know. And so that's the only scary thing. The Vikings, they're so Jekyll and Hyde with me, bro, that they're kind of scary to touch. The Eagles even right now are looking a little vulnerable without Jalen Hurts, but I think they're taking the smart role by just saying, you know what, we're going to get him healthy.
Yeah, they had a comfortable lead, you know what I mean? So they could they have the luxury of getting right before the playoffs. But that's also a scary thing when you sit. Like you said, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. We don't want to dive too much into it now and end a topic for later. But some other news we got to kind of touch on, not as good news. Actor Jeremy Renner was airlifted to the hospital after a snow-related incident where he was removing some snow plowing or something of the nature in Reno, Nevada, and he had to be airlifted to a hospital. As of right now, he's in critical but stable condition with injuries suffered, again, after experiencing a weather-related accident. You know, we just want to say shouts out to him. You know, hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. He's, you know, a staple in the Marvel series films, and we all are fans, and we want to see him back. You know, I watched several shows that he's a star in, and, you know, we just wish nothing but the best for you and a speedy recovery, my friend.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm definitely a big Marvel fan, big Hawkeye fan. So, you know, it's hard to see when, man, you know, it lets you know, it's just, these people are regular people too, and they go through it. So, you know, everyone out there, be safe, and hopefully Mr. Renner gets healthy real quick. I know he has that Mayor of Kingstown show on Paramount Plus. It's popping right now. I'm about to have their second season drop. So, it's just unfortunate. Accidents happen, man, and we just got to be safe out there.
Yeah, man, you know, we're all getting hit with all of this weather all throughout the country. You know, the East Coast got the heaviest, and shouts out to everybody in Buffalo that had to deal with what they had to deal with. You know, prayers out to anybody who was lost in that tragic storm, but these are the elements that we live in, and accidents do happen. So while you're out there removing snow, please bundle up, be safe, make sure you turn off the equipment, whatever the case may be, before you start investigating to why it's not working. We don't know what the details are of Jeremy Renner's accident, so we won't speculate or say anything like that to lead to any conclusions. But all I'm saying is we all know the elements that we live in, so just be careful as you're dealing with them.
Yeah, man. Especially this winter already seems to be pretty snowy. I mean, we woke up with snow today, a little fog. I went out there today and couldn't see probably a block down the way, man, just with how thick the fog is and stuff. So, it's that time of year. I know the mountains are looking like getting dumped on this weekend with like 2 feet up in Steamboat possibly. So if you're out going skiing, man, big ups to you, because you're going to enjoy the fresh powder. But, for some of us down here in the city, us city folks, us city slickers, we got to get our shovels ready and go dig ourselves out. And
then deal with all the people who do not know how to drive in this because they moved from other states.
Texas.
California.
No, for real, man. You get behind somebody that just don't know how to do it. Or how about the 4x4 guy? Like the dude in the big lifted truck with the 4-wheel drive, and they just flying down the street. It's like, yeah, I get that you have 4-wheel drive and that you got better traction than a lot of cars that have 2-wheel drive. But at the same time, 4-wheel drive doesn't mean 4-wheel stop. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind when you're out there just, doing your thing. Like, just be cognizant of that, man. Ice is ice.
Yeah, for sure. There's always somebody either going way too hard or, driving way too slow. It's one or the other. There's never a even medium.
There's never just me. No, I like going here to the parking lot every now and again and go do some donuts. But
but you're in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? You're being safe-ish.
You can't even do that no more, though, man. They come and shut you down, bro. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Even though you're being safe-ish, it's not safe no more, Dom. No more.
I have a bad story about the donuts in the parking lot.
Did you get a pull?
No, it wasn't even snow related, but just donuts in the parking lot are kind of a trigger word for me. We were going to the drive-in one time, and just trying to save $1 or $2. I was like, I'll jump in the back, hide under the blankets and this and that. And Vita decided to do some donuts in the parking lot across the street until I got nauseous and sick in the back. So
I've done that before. Not got sick, but I jumped in the trunk of my homie's Ford Mercury.
Damn.
With a bottle of Alizé in my hand, bro.
Hey.
And we got into the drive-in, and I didn't pay.
Good time,
got
brother.
It for free. Them assholes went down them bumps a little bit heavy, though. You know what I mean? And so every bump was just like smack, smack.
She thought she was real funny with that one.
My thing is, I don't know how I fit in the back of in the trunk of a Ford Mercury, bro.
Hey, I wasn't gonna say it, brother. New Year,
it's
new
okay.
me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So last year I was heavily on the roast topic, so this year I just decided
that's
to
just
leave
to
it
let
alone
know that people know that any miracle can happen. If I can fit in the back of a Ford Mercury,
you ain't never lying.
You can achieve your miracles too. Yo, so
speaking of achieving,
achievement, man. I got a question for you, bro, and this is open to our mailbag as well. If you guys have an opinion on this one, please hit up DNASportsDenver.com/askDNA. But can Nikola Jokic win another MVP?
I'm gonna answer it in the fashion that I'm gonna answer it, because I know how you're gonna answer it, and you're gonna hold us down as Nugget fans.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think right now, currently as we stand, I think Giannis and Tatum are probably the front runners right now and have a better shot at it as we currently speak. However, I think the two most important to their team right now in the running are Luka and Joker. And I say that to say this: the MVP to me isn't only based off of statistics, but has to be based off of what you mean to your team, the impact you make for your team, and if you carry your team and put them in the position to make the postseason or not.
Yeah.
And, right now, the Mavericks are currently in the 7th seed in the Western Division. Nuggets are doing their thing, obviously, on the top. So both these guys have their teams in a position to win, and I think if both these guys God forbid, something where they weren't in or they weren't playing, it would definitely be obvious that they were not on the court.
Yeah, they'd be lottery teams. I agree with you on that aspect. I'll answer it as yeah, sure, he can. He could. I don't know that he actually will, though, because I think it's going to take something spectacular from him in order to convince these judges to vote for him. He's back-to-back MVP. He carried the Nuggets last year to the playoffs, carried them through their short run in the playoffs. He was the dude for them the year before, and then Jamal got hurt, and it looked like we were going to go on a very big run, but Jamal got hurt. I think he can, and I hope that he does. I'm rooting for him to do so. He's still like third in odds of winning it. He's averaging 25.7 points, so just under 26 points a game, just under 11 rebounds, and at 9.5 assists a game. So he's almost averaging a triple-double for the season. Not to mention, I mean, his numbers on defense have gone up to where he's averaging just under a just under 2 steals a game, so just under a steal and a half a game, and he's just under a block a game. So those are numbers that you haven't really seen with Nikola a lot over his career, but he's having a phenomenal season, man. And I think, shooting 35% from three, 62% from the field, I think he has all the reasons to win the MVP. And I think if he wasn't the back-to-back reigning MVP, he may be getting more run for it this year, right? There is that fatigue with having Nikola being back-to-back. However, I think if the Nuggets finish out the number 1 seed and Nikola maintains these numbers, or he breaks into that triple-double average, it's going to be hard not to give him that MVP for a third straight time and join in the likes of Larry Legend, Bill Russell as three-peat MVP earners.
Yeah, no doubt. But you said it. You don't think he will, but it would take for him to do something special. I think on the current run that he is on right now, he is doing a lot of special things, you know, that a lot of people aren't accounting for. When we talk about MVP, we talk about points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game and things like that, but we're not talking about the overall numbers of where they stand currently with assists and things like that. Right now, I think he leads all these guys in assists.
Yep.
So he's not only scoring points, he's dishing the rock, he's rebounding, he's blocking shots, he's an overall impact to the team, bro. And, I think if he continues on this pace, it's going to be hard to not put a guy in the conversation. I know you said people are getting a little fatigued of him because he's the back-to-back winner, but at the same time, right, if you're back-to-back winner in that conversation, that speaks for itself as well.
Sprinkle that respect on his name.
You know what I mean? So if he's in the running and you got to say, well, this is a guy who won it 2 years in a row for doing the same thing, consistency has to speak for itself. You know what I mean?
I don't think there's anybody in the NBA that gets their team more involved than Nikola, and I don't think there's anybody in the NBA whose team goes off of them as much as Nikola. And that's just not trying to be biased. Obviously I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm from Denver. But that's trying to be unbiased, dude. There's nobody else that does that. You know what I mean? Nobody else gets their squad going. And, I said it would have to take something phenomenal. These last 10 games for Nikola have been nothing short of phenomenal. He's averaging a triple-double over the last 10 games, 30 points, 12.8 rebounds, 10.6 assists, almost 2 steals a game of the last 10 games. I mean, he's on this ridiculous stretch right now. Where the Nuggets, I think, are 8-2 in these 10 games. And so he's got them playing really good basketball. They've got the number 1 seed right now. The West is always daunting. It's always a rough go at it. But man, if they can keep this up and they finish this off, there's no reason why he can't win that third MVP. And I'm rooting for it because, dude, I would love to see. I mean, the fact that Denver has a back-to-back MVP is just astonishing to me.
I'd rather see him be the Finals MVP.
And I think, honestly, I think that's where I'm at with it too. Like, hey, you know what? Go ahead. You can have that regular season award.
Get us to the ship.
Let's get there and win the damn thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think just shouts out to all these guys, though, right? For us to be able to sit here and do what we love and talk sports and talk about the accomplishments that they're making on the court, man, is just phenomenal.
Did you see yesterday? New Year's Day, the Nuggets and Celtics played. And you know how Boston fans travel, and you know how it is here in Denver. Sometimes people just sell their tickets in opposite teams there in the stadium. They're chanting MVP for Jason Tatum. All these Boston fans in the ball arena, in the sack.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I thought that was ridiculous, man. I'm like, come on, bro. Come on, Nuggets fans.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
You got to do something about that.
And Boston boys, they traveled, though, man. They traveled, but they did do something about it, though. They won the game yesterday, even despite there was like a 37-minute delay for they brought down one of the backboards.
Yeah, I seen that.
So
seen the guy out there with his level trying to get it right and fix it. You know what I mean?
Bro, I'll tell you what, though, man. They looked good against the Celtics yesterday. They've looked good the last couple of weeks, this last 10-game stretch we've been talking about. I know we talked about them a little bit last episode, and, you know, we're gonna finish it out and see what happens, bro, because the West is wide open this year. You know, Golden State has their issues. It's kind of like you were talking about earlier in the NFC. You know, you can see a lot of these teams coming through. They're really good teams, but also all these teams are flawed. You know, and I think that's what helps, you know, keep hope for, like, you know, the bottom half of the playoff bracket right now, or, you know, where you've got teams like Utah, like Golden State, like Minnesota, who's underachieving, with still all they have to do is get hot and they can make a run. You know, and right now you got the Nuggets sitting on top, followed by Memphis, New Orleans, Dallas, LA, Sacramento, and then the Suns. So who knows, man? What I like seeing is the Lakers out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a hater.
You are a hater.
I don't care.
You know, but I think
seeing the Spurs.
I think anytime though you have King James in the running for things, bro, like, come on.
The thing that
makes things better. Like,
the thing that's hard with that team right now, bro, is that they've got so much invested in just LeBron and Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook that they don't have that supporting cast around them. And so when Anthony Davis goes down with his injury, there's nobody there to pick up his production.
Yeah.
And so now you're left with LeBron, which he scored 47 on his birthday the other night, which is crazy to see, through 37, 38 years old, can still ball on that level.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's having to carry more of that mantle. And it's you know, he's not 30-year-old LeBron anymore. He's a different player, and he's still great. It's just hard to carry that much weight at this point in his career. And you know, that's what kind of Anthony Davis was doing for him, keeping it so he didn't have to carry that much. And we'll see. I do like when the Lakers are competitive, right? Because you want to beat the best teams.
Yeah, it makes it better.
Yeah, you want to beat the best teams. You want to beat the Lakers. You want to beat the Celtics. You want to beat these teams that are perennial. Like, that's why I'm hoping Golden State comes back up. As much as I hate to see that team in the playoffs because how deadly they are, you want to beat the best to be the best.
You do. But right now, if as it currently stands, you know, if we don't have to deal with the Currys and the Brons, you know what I mean, it might be a better scenario.
You see what Zion Williamson's doing?
Yeah.
That dude is just going off too.
Did you see him throwing the football the other day?
No.
What you talking about?
No. I was just watching him against the Pelicans versus the Timberwolves.
Oh, you're talking about his play.
Yeah, and he was just freaking, like, he was playing for, I think I forget who it was on the Minnesota. It's like we're out here playing basketball and he's playing football.
Bro, there's a video of him throwing like a 70-yard pass like nothing.
Dude, he moves well for a big guy.
A dime too, bro. Like,
yeah. He's an athlete.
On a rope, you know. But what's great about the NBA, what I love about the NBA more than anything, is how diverse it is, bro. Like, talent comes from all over the world, right? We're talking about these MVP candidates. You got Jokic, who's from Serbia. You got Giannis, who's from Greece. You know, Tatum, he's from the U.S., you know. And then you got Luka, who's from Switzerland, right?
Where's Luka from? I forget where the hell Luka's from.
But the diversity.
Slovenia, yeah.
Slovenia. I butchered it.
He said Switzerland.
I was like, I wasn't sure, so I combined them.
He's from the Switzerland.
Hey, but you know, the diversity in the NBA is dope because then you're like, these guys are coming together to compete, right? And then at a certain point, they're going to be on separate Olympic teams competing
It makes the Olympic Games better too.
It's dope, bro.
Hey.
And you could cheer for, like, you could see your favorite NBA player playing for Greece, or, you know, doing his thing for other countries, and so you're actually rooting against him at that point, but you're rooting for him when he's playing for the Bucks. You
That's
know what
the
I mean?
one thing the NFL has been trying to do that the NBA mastered.
Yeah.
And the NBA made their game an international game, and they didn't have to. And I know they go and they play overseas now, but they didn't have to go and start this series overseas to do that. They've been an international game for a number of years. Dirk Nowitzki, you know, you go back, Peja Stojakovic. You know, you can go back and find all these different people that come from these different backgrounds and who are great basketball players. I just think now the talent's gotten better overall abroad. It's not just like 92 Dream Team. You know, you got really good teams. That Spanish team is really good.
Yeah, I think also just the risk of football, you know, and the money that goes into having a team, and the injuries behind I just think there's a little bit more to putting together a football team for another country than it is to play basketball or to play soccer. You know what I mean? Like, so I think hopefully we get there one day to where we do have teams that were, you know, international. We're playing all over the world, but you know, the NBA is dope for that.
Just to kind of back up your point and, you know, further reinforce it, this goes to show you how diverse basketball has become. Do you know who the number one international team in the world is right now? It's not the United States.
Spain.
It's Spain. Spain's number one, followed by the U.S. So it kind of goes to reinforce your point. Like, you know, the talent has gotten better worldwide. These guys are coming from Luka Doncic. He's been playing professionally since he was like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's on a big scale.
All the greats, right? You think about the Dirks, you know, like everybody that's been in the NBA for so long, the Mutombos, you know what I mean? Like, so many historic players that have come from other countries, you know, Yao Ming, you know, all these guys who have made impact on the game of basketball are not from the United States, and that's pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah,
that's dope, man. It's truly an international game, and I love the game of basketball. I love watching it. You know, I can't play so well. I suck at basketball.
For real?
I'm okay, dude, but I mean, I know where my lane's at.
All right.
I know where my lane's at.
See, I don't. I don't. So anything that involves some sort of ability, I'm gonna put myself in there. So
I'll get it in. I'll hoop.
I could hoop though. I'm a kind of a hooper.
I'll swat the shit out you, bro.
No, you won't.
All right, now we're gonna have to take a break so me and Coach Dom can go handle this one-on-one real quick. No, I enjoy playing basketball, dude. I know where my lane's at. You know what I mean?
Hey,
I know where I could win at though, and where I can't.
You know who else knows where to win at and where they can't? And
Damn.
They found their lane, bro. They kind of found their pocket. They're cornerstoning a market. We just got to give a special shout out to Cutthroat Barbers and Anglers.
Yes, sir.
In Wheat Ridge, Colorado. Our boy AJ, you know, has been in the barber game for years. You know, now
master barber.
Yeah, he's a master barber. And now he's bringing what he loves to do in barbering along with what he loves to do in life, fishing together. And he has a really cool concept. So make sure you go and check him out at Cutthroat Barbers and Anglers in Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
Yo, 38th and Pierce, man. Hop on the website and check him out. Dom's right. I mean, he's got a really cool concept here. I love fishing and enjoy fishing, so it's cool to kind of see some fishermen get some love, man. So shout out to AJ. Also, make sure you go and check out DNASportsDenver.com. Make sure you go sign up for a training session, buy some merch, say what's up to us, hit the mailbag, DNASportsDenver.com/AskDNA. Let us know what we're doing, what we're not doing, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. We value your opinion. Like I said, when we open the show, we appreciate you guys for always tuning in, for always being loyal, for always giving us an ear and spending an hour with us when we put this out. So make sure you let us know what we're doing, what you want, so that we can kind of continue to serve you guys, because that's kind of what we're here for, man. Small businesses, you got small business you need to plug, hit us up. Let's work together. We're not over here trying to screw anybody over or anything like that. We're trying to bring a spotlight to business, trying to bring a spotlight to our friends and to our people that are doing things. And we want to be there for you just like you're there for us. So hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, we have a voice and we have a platform, and we're just trying to utilize it and you know, show the love to the community and the people that we rock with. So
come rock with us in unity, community.
that's right.
Hey, so college football playoffs, man, they're thick.
That's what we're here for.
It's 4 teams, but now it's 2.
And my son asked me the other day, like, "What's your favorite sport, Dad?" And I said, "Do you really have to ask that, bro? Do you?" After he was just complaining about, don't you hate being in a relationship with the footballaholic who always watches football 24/7, college football, pro football, high school football, doesn't matter. He's watching football, and then he asks,
What's your favorite sport?
"What's my favorite sport?" We're here because of football, baby.
Yeah.
College football playoffs is on and cracking. We had 2 phenomenal games to lead to the national championship. You know, I'm going to be real, Coach. I thought it was going to be an Ohio State-Michigan rematch, but, you know, TCU and Georgia had something else to say about that.
I expected Georgia. I didn't expect TCU so much. And, you know, they just add validity to what they've done all season long. We're talking about it a little bit before we started the pod. You know, their defensive line, and they're actually a whole front 7 is just solid. Their linebackers, solid.
Yeah.
They got some guys that they got over that could have left and stuck around. Led by a great quarterback whose story is just phenomenal. If you haven't done the research on him, he's got a great story. But it's cool to see TCU in there. Georgia, man, you got a dude named Stetson leading you. It's hard not to smell bad, bro.
Yeah. Hey, bro, but Ohio State, man, they had that game, bro. They
did.
They had everything.
They did.
Like, right there in front of them. They did what they were supposed to do. Like, shouts out to them. Like, hold your heads high. Georgia
That's that champion.
they just finished, bro.
That's that champion.
They're defending. And
how about that missed field goal to the end of the game? Like, how far can you miss a field goal? Like, I've never kicked, so I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He might have been really trying. It was off.
Very off. Well, at first I wasn't sure if it was a bad hold. You know, I couldn't really tell. And then, you know, but he just missed the kick, bro. Like,
it's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. And you got to think, like, I said this during watching the game, like, in the college atmosphere, like, you see it in the pros, right? People get heckled all the time when they miss a kick like that. In college, bro, like, hopefully you guys are letting him live back on campus. You know, you're not holding him,
like, as
not
a pro,
giving him too hard of a time, because they can really run a kid off of a college campus.
Well, as a pro, you can go home. You can leave the city for a little bit. You can go on vacation, right?
Yeah.
As a college athlete, you got to go back to school,
You gotta
bro.
do the walk of shame, bro.
You got to go back to school, so you got to live with that, man. That's got to be tough, bro.
It does.
It's got to be tough. And you know what the cool thing is? And I'm sure Ohio State has this because I know a lot of other schools do, but they have psychiatrists and therapists and people you can talk to kind of get your mind right, because sometimes you need to get your mind right after a situation like that, especially if it means a lot to you. And, you know, I think anybody that's playing at that level, the game means a lot to them, right? And you get to that point where you're a kick away from going to the national title game and you miss it.
Yeah. You know, hopefully the team, though, in the locker room came together and said, you know what, this isn't on you. There's a lot of things that happened in this game.
Yep.
Like, in all honesty, if they don't lose Harrison to the injury in the game, they may run away with it, bro, because he was –
you talk about young wide receiver with a bright future.
Oh, my God. Bro, he might have a better career. I'm going to go out and say that. He might have a better career than his dad.
Yeah, he's definitely going to – I think, what is he, a freshman?
Yeah, bro.
So he's got 2 more years of ball still.
He's phenomenal. Like, watching him play the game of football is just ridiculous,
You can't cover him.
They couldn't do nothing with him.
Yeah.
Until he got hurt, bro.
Yeah.
And once he got hurt, you can see that it impacted the offense. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think Ohio State has a bright future ahead of them. You know, they're going to be back in the talk of things. You know, they just proved it. They solidified their spot.
That's your squad, too, huh? I forgot.
It is, bro. Great game. Great game. Shouts out to Georgia for getting it done. You know what I mean? They did what they were supposed to do. Ohio State fell short. TCU, man, you talked about their front defensive line, bro, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. They got a freshman there. He's just out of this world good, and they put pressure on quarterbacks. So we'll see what this game is going to be. TCU and Georgia. I'm sure everybody is thinking Georgia's going to win this, but TCU wants to come in and do what they did to Michigan and continue to upset teams and continue to keep their streak alive, and I'm there for it. They'll be the first unranked team to ever win a national championship if they do. So
yeah, they started the season unranked, and have a really good shot at making history, man. Who do you have? Who do you think's going to win the game?
I mean, Georgia's Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Kirby Smart is that exactly. However, I love that front seven that they have at TCU, bro, and I'm going to be going for TCU. I like the way Hacksaw Jim Dugan. It's like I like the way he slings the rock, bro. I think he's a good quarterback. There was some throws that he made. We were talking about throws that quarterbacks are making earlier before we got on the podcast. But in that Michigan game, bro, there was some throws and some plays that he made that were pretty out of this world.
And he's been doing that all year,
and he has been. And he's a big boy.
He's a Heisman finalist.
He kind of reminded me of a Josh Allen-esque type of quarterback. Yeah. So I'm excited to see this game. I think TCU is going to upset him.
Dude, Duggan wasn't even supposed to be the starter this year.
I know.
He won the job back. I mean, his story is phenomenal. So if you're listening, you got time, go back and just go through Max Duggan's story, because his story is phenomenal, man. He wasn't even supposed to be playing football anymore.
Yep.
And here he is, got his team one win away from winning an improbable national title. I think they're like 13-point underdogs right now. I think I'm with you, bro. I'm going to ride with TCU. I think you get this far, you're not supposed to be there isn't something that you can be talking about anymore, because you've proven that you belong there. You've proven that you belong on that stage. I'm going to have to go with TCU in a nail biter, bro, and I'm going to say they're going to win by, field goal late or something like that, something to steal that game. Like I said, Georgia's got a phenomenal team. They've got a really good team, top to bottom. They sent a bunch of kids to the NFL last year. They'll probably do the same thing this year. Kirby Smart's got another class coming in that's going to be ridiculous. They got the pedigree. They've got that championship. We were talking about Brady earlier, having that championship pedigree. Man down. But I think they have the same thing. Stetson Bennett, he's done his job. Talk about another quarterback that ain't supposed to be the starting quarterback there, and all he does is win the job and continue to win for them. So I think it's going to be a great game, bro. I'm excited to see it. But we're going to go back to the old whack days, man. Let's go TCU.
Yeah, and college football is I think right now is really, really not at its pinnacle, but it's just elevated. This game is kind of, grown year in and year out. You're starting to see bigger, stronger, faster athletes, and the class that we're going to see this year, I think, is going to be phenomenal into the NFL. Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., and Jahmyr Gibbs, all from Alabama. They all committed to the drafts, so we'll see what Bryce Young does in an NFL setting. We'll see if, is he going to be a slow transition, kind of like Tua has been, or is he going to hit the ground running right away and then kind of fall back? We'll see, but I'm excited to see what the current prospects of this year's college players brings to the NFL next year.
We've talked transfer portal a bunch of times on this program, and I think the transfer program, what it's done, although it's not perfect yet, the transfer portal, I think what it's done is it's brought a little bit of levity to the situation.
Oh, for sure.
It's leveled the playing fields where teams like TCU can get some players that come in and or get players that don't leave, right? And really have this kind of remarkable run. Teams like Georgia, Georgia's, the Alabamas, where the rich keep getting richer, and sometimes some of these guys are like, I'm not getting my time, let me leave, let me go somewhere else. So I really enjoy what the transfer portal's done in that aspect. Now, if we can expand this college football playoff sooner rather than later and actually have like an 18 playoff or a 12-team playoff, that'll be exciting, dude, because then you're really going to start getting some of these Cinderella stories that pan out. Some of these, they were a 7 or 8 seed, and they shouldn't make it this far, but they just knocked off the number 1 seed.
It's going more to like a March Madness type of thing. You know what I
A
mean?
real
tournament.
Yeah, a real tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in FCS, you see it in Division 2, you see it in Division 3. Like sometimes I get wanting the cream of the crop to always rise to the top, right? But at the same time, what makes you more battle tested than going through it? How do you crown a true champion if you're not having tough matchups with these teams?
Yeah, and then you're always questioning, right? Like, are we the best if we didn't beat the best, right?
Yeah.
We see other teams that go undefeated and they win these smaller championships, but they never play the teams that win the national championship, and that win. So we never end up seeing each other. So it is great to have a playoff to where you can win and get yourself into the conversation and play these schools that you won't have normally the opportunity to play, and see who's really the best, right? Who doesn't want to come in as an underdog and knock off of Georgia?
Yep. And you give you the example of the year that Auburn went undefeated and USC won the national title, because I think it was the BCS at that particular time and period, and Auburn didn't get a chance to play for it. What happens if them two teams play?
Yeah.
And you got, back in the day when you used to split national titles, when CU and Washington, or CU and Georgia Tech split a national title. I like the fact that as we progress through this, and now we got the 4-team, and soon we're going to have the expansion. As we progress through this, there's going to be less and less questions about who actually is the national champion, because it's going to play out on the field.
Yeah.
And these companies will figure out how to keep these bowl games and how to continue to make their money off the bowl games, because realistically, that's the bread and butter of a college football program, is getting to one of these bowl games and getting some of that money that you get out of it, right?
Sure.
Because there's more opportunity than there is national title opportunity. So, as long as, that ain't going to be disrupted. There's 400 bowl games every year. We can get this tournament going. And I think they're doing it in a pretty smart way now. Like, the Peach Bowl was one of the semifinal games. You got a Peach Bowl champion, and now we go to the national title game.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out, man. I'm definitely rooting TCU. I think you're rooting TCU, and let's go Horned Frogs.
Hey, let's see an exciting game. We're here for it. But yeah, TCU, let's see it.
As we're kind of rolling into the next topic, this will kind of go into there. You mentioned TCU beating Michigan. A lot of speculation with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. And I've read that the Broncos have already reached out and let him know, hey, we're interested in you. We'd like to talk to you about our opening. Do you foresee a situation where Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan and comes back to the NFL? Not just with the Broncos, but any other team. The Colts have an opening. There's a few teams that have openings there.
I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes when you see a guy who is at the NFL level and he leaves to go to the college level, there's a lot of things about being a head coach at the college level that is a lot more rewarding than the NFL, right? You get to see your players succeed to that next level. And
for sure.
I don't know if he will. It would be exciting to see him in the AFC, so that way we could see a Harbaugh Bowl, several times a year maybe. See him and his brother slug it out. But, I know that there's a lot of coaches that are going to be on the hot seat, man. So there's going to be opportunities for him to kind of dive in and have some options there. So the money's right,
He's been successful at everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
He has winning records at every stop he's gone in his coaching career. So that's the only thing that makes me wonder is like, all right, I've come up against this wall here in Michigan twice. And you know what? Honestly, I give it up to him, because he probably could have left a couple years ago before he actually put, I think before 2 years ago where he actually beat Ohio State for the first time, the seat was getting a little warm.
Yep.
And he probably could have left before that season. But he stuck it through, saw them deliver 2 straight victories over Ohio State, and now 2 straight college football playoff appearances. Now, obviously, them 2 appearances didn't go the way that they had planned, especially this year. I think this year they were kind of poised. They had the previous year's experience of happiness of just getting there. Now they were like, we're here, let's do something with it.
Yeah.
And they just ran into a better team in TCU. But it makes you wonder, like, okay, I'm not going to be able to get past this. Should I just go ahead and make the leap to the NFL now? I think he makes like $5 million a year at Michigan. So, a team can roll the Brinks truck up to him and be like, hey, we'll pay you $10 million, or go $15 million like McVay makes, make him the highest paid coach in the NFL. That's hard to stick around and say, all right, I'm going to stay here. He's got like a $3 million buyout at Michigan, so it's not a big buyout to get him out of there. it makes you wonder if this is the year that he's like, all right, I'm gonna make that jump.
Well, he has to be one of the most sought out coaches right now, just because of his winning pedigree. Like you said, he's taken Michigan to the success that he's taken them to. And the last time he was in the NFL, he has a successful pedigree as well. So, when you're a coach that all you do is succeed and you win, and you've been showing that you know how to win at both levels, you're going to be a high-end coach that everybody's going to want to bring in, instead of one of these coordinators who hasn't really even proven it yet.
Well, and if you showed people too that you've had an ability to work with quarterbacks and to develop quarterbacks, the stuff that he did with Kaepernick, it really stands out. Even the stuff he did with Alex Smith, whose career was pretty much done as a bust, and the next thing you know, he works with Harbaugh. He loses the starting job in San Francisco, but he salvages his career later on in Kansas City and Washington. And I think a lot of that's to do with the work he had with Harbaugh. I think that makes it attractive for a team with a quarterback, say like Denver or like Arizona, or one of these teams with a young quarterback. You see this coach that has a track record of working well with young quarterbacks. It makes it very enticing to say, hey, you know what? Let's go get that man. Let's go do whatever we have to do to do that.
Yeah, and speaking of great coach, and great coaches and having opportunities, what hot seats do you think are currently open for discussion? You've mentioned Arizona, you mentioned Denver. I know there's a couple places that may also be looking to make a change.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like right now, what is it? The Panthers, Broncos, and Colts all have interim head coaches.
Yeah.
Of that, I think the Panthers may have found their coach. I think Steve Wilkes has done a great job. I think he got a raw deal out in Arizona for the 1 year that they allowed him to coach there, and then they fired him. And I think, what was it, Josh Rosen was his quarterback. Nothing special there. So I think maybe he might have helped coach himself into a full-time gig over there, especially competing for the division title, and having lost to the Buccaneers this weekend to kind of lose that opportunity. Obviously, the Broncos and Colts come to mind with Jim Harbaugh because of the reasons I laid down earlier. Harbaugh's connections to Indianapolis. But there's always those dark horses that you don't expect to see a firing. Cliff Kingsbury get fired. I mean, they've underachieved in Arizona this year. Somebody like Mike McCarthy, whereas if Dallas goes one and done in the playoffs this year, you've already seen that smoke with Sean Payton being mentioned there last year. So will that be something that Jerry Jones is always unpredictable and might just say, you know what, axe it, let's shut it down. And then you got people like Mike Vrabel with Tennessee, who's had a great career in Tennessee, and I'd argue Mike Vrabel's a really good coach, and I'd back that up. But Tennessee fired their GM earlier this year, and ever since they've done that, it's kind of gone downhill. Now, that's the GM that traded away A.J. Brown, and then he got fired after the Eagles came back and A.J. Brown torched Tennessee. Yeah. So that might have been hard to see for ownership. But that GM also has helped produce division titles, helped produce a constant winner over the past 4 or 5 seasons, and has helped deliver a great coach like Mike Vrabel. So what are we doing there? And then obviously Houston's always a mess, and you never know what they're going to do with Lovie Smith. Tampa with Todd Bowles, you never know what they're going to do there. So I don't know. I can see some chairs moving around, man. But it's kind of the CNFL, and it's the same thing with players too. And I know there's going to be some carousels with players.
I think you did, but did you mention the Colts? Because I think they're probably. I think Jeff Saturday is probably the most obvious out of their coach right now, because they kind of brought him on, and the way they brought him on was kind of frowned upon by a lot of reputable coaches in the league. They kind of overlooked their coordinators that they currently had on staff that were more than qualified to take over that position.
Just brought a complete outsider
brought in a complete outsider based off of loyalty for the organization. You know what I mean? And so he's definitely out of there for sure. So we got to talk about that. I just hope that and all these vacancies that people that are really qualified for the job get the job. You know, there are a lot of qualified coordinators out there. You know,
sure.
Anthony Lynn right now, he's working with those running backs in San Francisco with McCaffrey,
And he's been a coach before.
and he's been a head coach. You know, and he didn't have a horrible tenure at it with the Chargers, but you know, it wasn't the greatest. So now, does he get another opportunity? You know, we always talk about coordinators and who deserves a opportunity. We can't leave Eric Bieniemy out.
Yeah.
Right? And the Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy has been a great coordinator for all these years, you know.
And will this be the year?
And everybody talks about, will this be the year that he takes a head coaching job? He's always getting overlooked, you know. I think that's kind of both ways. I think he likes his coordinator position, but I think also there are teams that are overlooking great coordinators that are currently in the NFL right now, and him being one of them, you know. So if he is open to taking some of these head coaching vacancies, show the man respect, man. He has a proven pedigree.
Well, in Indianapolis is kind of an attractive spot too. Their defense isn't horrible. They've got a solid defense, got a great running back, offensive line. They had some injuries this year, but they've got a great offensive line. They really are just a quarterback away from being competitive.
And
in that division, if you look at that division isn't the toughest division in football either. You know, if they have a competent quarterback this year, they're probably playing for the division, right? And, you know, we mentioned Jim Harbaugh earlier, former Colt. That might be a great landing spot for him too in the NFL.
Yep.
Jim Irsay, I'm sure he's got a good rapport with him. You know, so that's something you got to keep an eye on.
He could develop quarterbacks, right? They're going to have to bring in a guy.
They got the number 5 pick in the draft right now.
They got the number 5 pick. You got guys like Bryce Young that are coming into the league, but you got current free agents, right? The whole debacle with Derek Carr right now.
Yeah,
he's benched. He's obviously, the writing's on the wall. He's played his last snap as a Raider.
Is it though?
Is what it looks like. It kind of looks like that's
what
the case is going
to be. But this is first year of a 3-year extension, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we paid him. So
but it was kind of like a 1-year. Like all the money was up in that first year, right?
It's kind of a balanced one, but yeah, he kind of staggered it to be in the first year, and then so that way he can pay other people in later years. But you know, he's on the market right now. You got Brady's going to be a free agent. You got Lamar Jackson that's going to be a free agent. You got Daniel Jones. You got Geno Smith. Not to mention in the Daniel Jones situation, they got to play Saquon Barkley too. So are they going to play Saquon? Are they going to play Daniel Jones? What's going to be the move that the Giants make? So you have these quarterbacks that can land up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And they're a playoff team.
I don't think Lamar Jackson's gone. I
don't know. The negotiations right now aren't looking too good.
But they can franchise him too, though. They can franchise him, keep him. I mean, the most famous franchise is the double franchise for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
you know, where he bet on himself and then landed a fully guaranteed deal. You're right, though. I mean, the negotiations haven't been going well. They pointed this out on the broadcast. I don't know if you watched that Steelers-Ravens game yesterday. They pointed this out yesterday, though, that Lamar Jackson now has finished the last 2 seasons hurt, and that's a big concern for Baltimore because they don't know if they want to commit this money if this guy can't stay healthy.
Exactly, and Derek Carr is the key piece to a lot of these quarterbacks situations, right? Because you just said it, they can franchise Lamar Jackson, but they're also worried about his injury history.
Yeah.
Wow. The Raiders are going to have to trade Derek Carr away.
Right.
So if they can work out a trade with the Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson thing, you may have a scenario there. They're not just losing Lamar Jackson to free agency. They're getting something in return. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of trade value in Lamar Jackson right now, and right now if you still have an opportunity to get rid of a quarterback and bring something in, and you plan on maybe doing that anyway after free agency, then why not? You know, this is a business at the end of the day, and I think that there are going to be conversations for a guy like Carr, who has proven himself in the NFL, but had some, lumps and bruises along the way. I think he's going to be trade value, and I think there's going to be a lot of these teams that are currently losing a quarterback that are going to be interested.
You think? So you think the Raiders are going to make a play for Lamar?
Well,
do you think they should? I should say.
I think right now the most talked about guys are Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady. But man, I also believe in the draft. I believe in the draft. I think the Raiders need to bring in someone young. Shout out to Stidham, because Stidham did his thing in the game versus the 49ers yesterday. He was controlling to me, the how fluid the game was, right, and how smooth our offense looked it was night and day, bro. Like, it really, Derek Carr, don't get me wrong, I all love to Derek Carr. You've done great for the Raider organization. You've done great for Raider Nation. You've been a great person. But this last year was rough watching some of these games, bro, to where it looked like we're in a lead, and we're not losing it because we're playing completely bad defense. We're losing it because our offense can't
get
do
a first down.
anything.
3 and out.
3 and out after 3 and out. And your body language, right? We talk about people not being happy to be in a situation. I'm a body language guy, so when I'm looking at the television screen and I'm seeing Derek Carr look like he's pouting with mascara on, it is upsetting.
That's every time with Derek Carr, though.
I know, but body language is a big thing. And as a quarterback, bro, you got to be that guy to not be showing the body language. So I think it just has came to its end, unfortunately.
I'll agree with that, because I think Derek Carr has put up with a lot of crap the last 2 or 3 years, ever since Gruden got there originally, where it was like
10 coaches.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of him. We're not going to have him. And then he ends up being the quarterback. It's hard to play for a coach where you don't know. Look at Mike McDaniels and Tua. If you don't know that the coach has confidence in you, it's hard to be confident in your abilities for that coach. And you've seen it with Tua and Flores, and now Tua and McDaniels. And I know it's kind of tailed off towards the end of the season, but Tua's had the best year of his career, and I don't think it's a coincidence that his coach has reinforced belief into him and put him out there and says, you know what, you're the guy, you're the dude, I'm riding with you, my confidence is in you. Right, that there's a lot to go with that, and I don't think Derek Carr has had that the last 3 years in in Las Vegas, and I think that could be the benefit of a new change of scenery.
Yeah.
At the same time, Derek Carr's gotten older.
Yes,
and he's never been a very mobile quarterback or one that moves around a lot, and his attributes haven't always been over the top. So it makes you wonder, is this the game in Father Time catching up to Derek Carr, where we've seen his best football? And, what do you think the Raiders can get for Derek Carr?
Well, it depends on the where they trade him to, right? I think Derek Carr still brings in a lot of value. I think definitely we'll be bringing in some high-end draft picks for him. I also feel that we can maybe do some player swapping depending on the situation. Again, we talked about Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. I don't know if that's a guaranteed for sure thing, because Derek Carr also has to be a fit for what Harbaugh's trying to do in Baltimore. And he may not be a fit for that scheme, right? However, he is kind of a perfect fit for what they're doing in Indianapolis.
This is true, and Indianapolis has shown
an interest in
bringing veteran quarterbacks over, opposed to going it's kind of like the Broncos have done recently, where instead of going the rookie route, let's bring in this veteran to we've got everything we need. Right, we've got a defense, we've got the line, we've got a running game. We just need a quarterback. Let's bring him in. So I see Indianapolis being a good landing spot for him.
You know what? And I think that it could definitely pan out that way. I would like to see maybe solidify our defense a little bit. So if we can maybe get a defensive player from Indianapolis, because they got talent on that defense side of the ball, and maybe in the linebackers room, bring over a linebacker and a draft pick and give them Derek Carr. You know what I mean? Maybe we could work something out. But I don't know. You
mentioned Daniel Jones and the Giants, and the Giants didn't pick up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option, so he's coming up at the end of his fourth season here. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. They have Saquon Barkley coming up at the end of his deal, right? And they're going to have to pay him and take care of him. Do you think the Giants should re-sign Daniel Jones?
I am a big DJ fan. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I think he can be a great quarterback if they're behind the right team. I just don't know if he's worth signing over Saquon. Now, if they can figure out a way to keep them both, right? Maybe they use the franchise tag on one of them and they sign the other one to a big deal, and then they say, "Hey, we're gonna sign you next year. You're getting your money," kind of like the Raiders did with Carr, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna pay him, and then we're gonna get other people their money. You know, if they do something like that, then I think that they can make it work. However, this is Daniel Jones coming off of his rookie contract.
Yep.
He wants to get paid.
Well, and
You know what I mean? And rightfully so. He deserves to get paid. So it's going to be tough for the Giants to keep both.
I think if I was that GM for the Giants, and if Daniel Jones is I identify him as he's our best option for what's available and to continue on what we're doing, then I'm riding with Jones, and I'll either franchise Saquon or we eventually part ways. Mm-hmm. You can pay a running back if you're not paying other portions of your team big money, i.e. your quarterback, right? The running back shelf life is such a short shelf life in the NFL, man. Saquon's had his injuries over the course of the year. He was a feature back this year, but he was splitting carries in the backfield a ton of the season. You know, he's not that dude anymore, and I don't know that you pay that. And I don't think that he's going to go for a situation where if they franchise tag him, he's going to be all right with that. You know what I'm saying? That might cause more of a risk. And you can't franchise Daniel Jones as much as I talked about franchising Lamar Jackson. That's like a $45 million price.
Yeah.
For one season. You know what I mean? And I would go the route of paying Jones and franchising Barkley.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we can't work something out with Saquon on a long-term deal, then we ride with him this season and see where the cards fall at the end, right? I think it's hard to find a quarterback in this league, and Daniel Jones isn't the greatest of them all, but he's shown under Brian Daboll this year that he's able to run the system and be more efficient and be a better quarterback and be a better option. There's a reason they didn't pick up his fifth-year option.
Yeah.
And I think they might have found their coach finally, and I think Daniel Jones he complements him really well.
Yeah,
you know?
see, I think it's going to come down to more or less, does Daniel Jones want to be a Giant?
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be, do the Giants want to keep Daniel Jones? Does Daniel Jones want to stay a Giant, or does he want to get more of a consistent pass protection, more weapons, maybe to throw it to, right? He's had Sterling Shepard and a few other guys, but
he hasn't really had anything.
He hasn't really had big weapons.
Yep.
So, you know, like, does he want to go to somewhere where he'll have a more solidified offensive line and some more weapons behind him? Maybe. The only thing that he has to take into consideration is the market for quarterbacks this year, with Carr being on the market, with Brady being on the market, with Lamar Jackson being on the market, with Geno Smith being on the market, and these rookies that are coming in, is he may be at the bottom end of that market. So he might not be getting that big contract that he's seeking. So maybe trying to hold off for a year, or seeing what the Giants are going to offer, or is going to be his best option financially.
I think underrated in that whole decision, in that whole thought process, is he can have the same offensive coordinator, same head coach for multiple seasons for the first time.
Yep.
He's another one of them guys that have gone through multiple OCs, multiple head coaches in the course of his career. I think he's been there 4 years, and this is his second or third head coach. I don't know if he was there for Pat Shurmur, but he was there for Mike Judge. You know what I mean? Like, so I think if you're a quarterback and you're developing, I think that's an important part of your development, right? Is being able to develop under a system. I think that's why a lot of these young quarterbacks get in the league and foil out right away, is because they don't get an opportunity to develop under a system, i.e. Drew Lock in Denver, right? Never had the same system. The one system that he was good at, they fired that OC and went to a completely different system the next year. So I think the benefit of that also should weigh in his decision making too, where it's like, I can go somewhere with maybe the nicer toys, but it's a different system and I haven't performed in that system. How am I going to grow, right? Or I can stay here, get paid handsomely, know what I have, and know that we have opportunity to better positions through the draft or through free agency, right? and I'm actually going to develop and grow in the system, potentially making me more money down the road.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention. I didn't mention the other quarterback that's on the market too. That is most likely going to leave.
Yep.
Is Jimmy G.
Yep, I was just going to bring him up
because you
too.
got Trey Lance and you got Purdy,
Purdy looking great. Purdy looking Purdy.
Yeah, Purdy's looking pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So it's the writing's on the wall. They already didn't want Jimmy G, so Jimmy G's probably out of there as well.
He's definitely out.
So there are a lot of quarterbacks on the market right now.
What do you
running backs on the market? Like this year, there's going to be a lot of new faces and new places, bro. New year, new me, new face, new place. Because you got quarterbacks that are deep. You got running backs that are deep, right? You got Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
You got all these guys that are looking for new homes, bro.
I don't think Pollard's going anywhere.
Interesting.
I think Pollard stays in Dallas, and I actually think Ezekiel might be out over there, bro.
That's the thing, but that's, again, it's going to be a carousel all across the board. We were talking about the Raiders and the Colts maybe making a deal. I wouldn't mind getting back Ndakwe. We traded him to the Colts last year. Yeah. If we can bring him back in and add some depth to our pass rush, because, Chandler Jones is great towards the latter end of the year. He got hurt. But if we can bring in some more stability besides that pass rush, maybe we can do some things.
Let me ask you a question, bro. What do you do if you're San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. And Purdy leads you deep into the playoffs this year, right? Maybe you don't win it all. But he shows he doesn't look rattled, doesn't look like a rookie. What do you do when Trey Lance is ready for next season and you have to have the choice between Trey Lance and Purdy?
You have an open quarterback competition in camp, right? You led us to the promised land, but we're going to have an open competition going into camp with the mentality that it's Purdy's job to lose at that point, right? Because he's proven. Trey Lance has came in. He hasn't really proven much. Yes, they
gave up a lot to get him.
That's their hope, right?
Yep.
Their hope is that Trey Lance is their guy. That's the plan. That's the intention, everything behind it. But sometimes that doesn't work out, Jamarcus Russell. So, you know what I mean?
Dude, Purdy runs that offense.
He does
really well. Almost better than what Trey Lance. Better than what Trey Lance looked in the one game that he had. He runs that offense better than Garoppolo does.
Yeah, they're in a good situation though to have two young quarterbacks who are both still trying to prove themselves, right? It's a scary one, but I think it's also a good one because they can sit on both those quarterbacks if they can finesse it right to make both of them happy and one win the starting job and not the other one get mad about it. Maybe they can have some depth there at quarterback for some years to come.
Do you see a potential trade scenario, though?
I do.
Where, say, Purdy wins the job or even Trey Lance wins the job, right? And you've got this more than capable player on your bench. Theoretically, I think they would be happier if Purdy turns out to be the guy because you could probably get a first round pick back for Trey Lance.
Well, let me ask you this: do they do the whole Nick Foles thing? Do they let Purdy lead them to the game, right, and then trade him away because of the value that he brings, because of what he just proved? Because they're really invested in Trey Lance. Do they trade away Purdy? Maybe keep Jimmy G for another year.
Well, but see, Jimmy G's contract is up after this year.
I don't know. Maybe they sign him to a small one.
Oh, that fool ain't signing that shit. I don't think he's signing back there. I don't think he wanted to be back there this season. And I think the way the season fell, it actually just fell in his favor, with the exception of being hurt.
Because I could see him going all in on Trey Lance and getting rid of Purdy.
I could too. The thing with Trey Lance is it's more control. I think you got what? This is his second year. So you got 3 more seasons on that. Whereas in Purdy, you're going to have, Trey Lance, you have to make a decision on after next season for that 5th-year option. You don't have that kind of pressure for Purdy yet because Purdy's going to be like a 3 or 4 year deal, and he's on a.
But if he takes him to the Super Bowl,
do you think they tear
NFC Championship, his value is here compared to Trey Lance's, right? Trey Lance had value last year.
Yeah.
But after performing, some say less than mediocre, and then being injured all year, he doesn't really have any value in the trade market.
I think he's still got developmental value, though. I think he's because you can argue that this season wasn't going to be his big season anyway.
But not as much as a guy who's going to lead a team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I think what gets left out is that Purdy was the 7th round pick and Trey Lance is the first round pick. And regardless of how they play currently, the spots in which you were drafted weighs heavily on these other teams and GMs.
Tom Brady was a 6th round pick.
I get
and
that.
Jamarcus Russell was
I
the
get
first.
that, but that's
overall.
not what I'm arguing here. That's not what I'm arguing here. What I'm arguing is the way other teams value the position of where that player came from, right? Tom Brady is the GOAT, but if Tom Brady came through and you're talking about, well, fuck it, they did. New England did, right? They had a number 1 draft pick in Drew Bledsoe, and they had Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And they went with the cheaper option in Brady, let Drew Bledsoe walk, right? And the rest is history. So I'm just wondering, like, at what point does San Francisco say, you know what, Purdy might be cheaper for us in the long run. We can get more back because Trey Lance was a number 1 pick, right? He was a first round pick versus like the value you get for a 7th round pick. Mm-hmm. Because that's, teams are going to do that shit. They're going to be calling like, oh, well, no, we don't want, we only give you a 4th round pick for Purdy because he was only a 7th rounder.
Yeah.
But hey, Trey Lance, there's potential there, 1st rounder, plus that extra year of control with the 5th year option. Yeah. That's the other thing that weighs in there too.
They definitely are going to have a scenario on their hands because they have 3, especially, again, if they make the postseason, go far into the postseason, they're going to have 3 more than qualified quarterbacks on their roster.
Do you think Jimmy G comes back in the playoffs?
I don't know what his time frame to come back is. I don't know if he's going to be ready to come back, but
I know when he got hurt, they were talking about if he came back, it was going to be like late in the playoffs that he'd be ready.
I think if he's ready and the 49ers have continued, because right now they're in talks that they could potentially steal that number 1 seed. So if they can somehow get home field advantage and win a playoff game, and then he's ready to come back, like, say, Super Bowl or NFC Championship type time, I think they stick with Purdy.
I was gonna say I don't think you disrupt that. If Purdy's playing well, I don't think you disrupt it. Now, if he's struggling, or if he gets to the playoffs and you can see it's a whole nother level, and it's a daunting task for him, and he's not working out. Yeah, make the move, right? But I don't think you change that.
I think even if they were more invested in Jimmy G, they would still go back to him. But I think the fact that they showed they're not really invested in Garoppolo, I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they have intentions on going back to him.
Yeah,
I think he's done. I think he's done.
I agree.
Unless Purdy goes down.
But Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have proven that they don't give a damn and they'll do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
And if that means swallowing your pride on a player because somebody else is struggling and he's available, I mean, they did it this year. They didn't trade Jimmy G despite him being unhappy there, despite them having no intentions on using him, right? He was supposed to be their backup all season long. Trey Lance was the guy, right? And I think they've proven that they have no problem with saying, hey, Jimmy, suit up, bro.
Yeah,
we're going out there.
You're right. They're definitely the most unpredictable.
Yeah.
Two combinations.
And it seems like everything they're touching is right.
I love the combination of John Lynch and Shanahan, bro.
Dude,
I think,
everything they touched so far is turning to gold.
I think they got a relationship kind of there too because of Mike Shanahan and you know what I mean? But
they got a lot of great football minds in their circle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like John Lynch is
even
around
from his tree already. Yeah. Like he already has a pretty good tree.
Yeah, I think they've got great football minds in their circle, and I think when you have that, you're able to kind of lean on that knowledge, lean on that circle a little bit where the decision doesn't seem like it's something that's going to be easy to make. It's like, well, what would these people think? And you kind of use that to kind of make your decision. Either way, you called it, bro. This carousel, not just coaching carousel, but these players that are going to be going back and forth. I can't wait till March already. It's going to be some exciting times.
I mean, there might be some signings coming up in the next few weeks because playoffs is right around the corner, bro. You might see Odell land up on a roster.
Doesn't he have to be on a roster before the season ends in order to?
You might see some other people land up on a roster. I was just reading something on him actually.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of these vets that have been out the game or that got cut earlier in the season that have an opportunity to show up on somebody's roster. And one game left this week, man. If you're a team that's right there on the cusp, why not? why not go for it, and why not try to make something happen?
Yeah, because the playoff scenario right now is kind of it's kind of solidifying itself, but there's still some teams that are on that bubble that can make it in and make a splash, bro. Like, you got the Dolphins right there on the bubble, which we've been high on the Dolphins all year. That's your team, obviously, but I've been very high on their offense. They've been playing a few weeks without Tua. I don't know if he's going to be back again this next week. It's not looking
It's
promising.
a weird
He's still in
situation with him, bro,
protocol.
because they didn't know he had a concussion, allegedly.
Well, that's how it happens sometimes, though, bro.
Yeah.
When you get a concussion, especially as severe as he did, any little movement or body jolt can re-trigger another one. And
That's potentially 3 this year.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he had that one against Buffalo that didn't get diagnosed. He got knocked out, basically. He came back the next week, and that one against Cincinnati.
And the Dolphins are in a bad situation right now, right? Because they got to win.
Well, and then Teddy broke his finger yesterday.
And that's what I was going to say. They got to win to get in,
Yep.
kind of, and some other things have to happen. But Teddy broke his finger. Potentially no Tua.
So as it sits right now, New England holds the last and final spot in the playoffs in the AFC at 8-8. They got the Dolphins and Steelers also at 8-8 behind them. However, they have the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based on the head-to-head, and the division tiebreakers would put them in front of Miami. It's simple as New England wins next week, they're in. And they play Buffalo. Miami has to win and help New England loses. Miami plays the Jets, and then Pittsburgh. If both Miami and New England lose next week, Pittsburgh will sneak in and be the final playoff spot in the AFC. In the NFC, you got Seattle holding on to that last playoff spot at 8-8. They win the tiebreaker over Detroit based off the head-to-head, and they win the tiebreaker against Green Bay based off of the head-to-head with Detroit, and then the winning percentage within the division. But Green Bay, Detroit play next week.
Yeah.
If Green Bay can beat Detroit with a little help, they'll be in.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Tampa just punched their ticket with the division title.
Yeah.
Just 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were wondering, is this going to be a first playoff in a long time without Rodgers or Brady? And now both these guys might be in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And then in the AFC, right, you got the AFC South, which is coming down to the Jaguars and the Titans. It looks like whoever wins is
that's for the title next week.
Wins the division,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And the other one is still on the hunt in the bubble. So, there's a lot of scenarios that still have to play out to solidify these playoffs. But there were some changes this week that kind of knocked some other teams out. The Jets, you mentioned the Jets. The Raiders had a long shot, but they eliminated themselves. You got teams rising in the ranks. You got the 49ers, who could potentially end up with the number 1 seed if the Eagles lose.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of scenarios that still can play out. The Chiefs and the Bills, who's going to end up with that number 1 seed? Do the Bills win tonight, beat the Bengals, and take that number 1 seed spot back, or do the Bengals clinch division and knock the Chiefs, or put the Chiefs in a position to run away with the number 1 seed again?
Yeah, with that Ravens loss, the Bengals clinched the division tonight against the Chiefs. And don't underestimate that. That'd be a big victory for the Bengals to get that done now, instead of having to go into next week's game with the Ravens with that on the line. The difference between finishing out 2nd or 3rd and finishing out 6th or 7th is a big difference. It's no home game for the playoffs. That's going on the road the entire way, and it's been done, but it's a hard way to win a championship.
Yeah. If the playoffs started today, who's your favorite from each conference to make it, and who's your long shot?
If the playoffs started today, Miami would be out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my favorite in the AFC, if the playoffs started today, to win it all, to win the AFC title, would be probably, God, I hate I'm saying this, probably Buffalo. But don't sleep on Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for the NFC, my favorite would be San Francisco. Even though the Eagles with a healthy Jalen Hurts is ridiculous, but I'd say don't sleep on Tampa Bay just because of the pedigree. And for that matter, don't sleep on Green Bay if they were to happen to get in, just because of who they got calling calling the snap.
Yeah, see, for me, I'm going to agree with you in Buffalo as the favorite for the AFC. My sleeper for that division or that conference, though, is going to be the Chargers.
That's a good one.
You know, I think the Chargers are a team that can, on any given Sunday, beat any of these teams that are in the playoffs. They have great offense. They have a good defense. I think the Chargers in playoff football with Justin Herbert could upset some teams.
And the Chargers are starting to stay out of their way.
Yeah.
They're not doing stupid shit to kind of lose games like they were previously. I wonder if Staley, if he goes one and done in the playoffs, do you think he gets fired? Because I know they were talking about like Sean Payton to Los Angeles.
He's risky.
He goes for it on fourth down a lot, almost as
Yeah,
much as like Mike McDaniels is the same way.
Yeah, he's very risky. But I don't know. He could be in the hot spot. I do know, though, in the NFC, I keep going back and forth with the Eagles, the Niners, and the Cowboys, honestly, as my favorite. And also my sleeper. I think, though, I honestly think the Eagles, with the healthy Jalen Hurts, are going to be the favorite of the NFC. I think their defense is phenomenal. I think their offense is ridiculous. So I think
that's hard.
Miles Sanders is a free agent after this year, so he's trying to do something and earn a contract.
That's a hard one to argue against,
bro. The only reason I'm not picking the Cowboys as my favorite, I'm gonna tell you right now, is because the Cowboys can't get out of their own way in the playoffs. Yeah. But I love what the Cowboys are doing. I love their 1-2 punch in Pollard and Zeke. Micah Parsons, to me, has to probably be. You know, we talked about Bosa earlier, but I think Micah Parsons is in discussion for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's probably one of the most hands-down, naturally talented defensive players that are in the league right now.
He's freaking good.
He's phenomenal. So I would either say the Eagles and the Cowboys are my two teams from the NFC.
I can say the Cowboys is a good sleeper. You know, there's a lot to play for with that team as far as the coaching staff. There's a lot to coach for. Like, Mike McCarthy's coaching for his job, literally. And I think anything short of an NFC title run, perhaps, could cost him his job.
Giants, Cowboys, Eagles.
Yeah, the Seahawks would be the last one. The Commanders got.
No, I'm saying in their division. Did they all make it? Like
no, the Commanders got eliminated because they lost.
Eliminated.
They lost.
Almost.
They were holding on to that 7th spot, and if they'd have won, they would have still held on to that 7th spot right as we speak. But unfortunately, the dream of four from one division is still all but done.
3 is amazing though.
Well, and it's crazy because the NFC East was thought of as being this weak division before the season started, and it turns out to be one of the stronger divisions in football.
Oh, I'll put my foot in my mouth, bro. I said the Giants. I think I picked the Giants to be the worst team in the league. In fact, I picked the Giants in our loser pool at the beginning of the
first game of the
season and got bounced, bro. So, you know, I will definitely put my foot in my mouth and say I was wrong about the Raiders and I was wrong about the Giants.
Bro, I was wrong about a lot too. Going back and listening, I was wrong about a lot. But, you know, you live and you learn. That's the great thing about this game. That's the great thing about football is it's so unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen from season to season, from week to week, and from game to game. A lot of movement going on, man. I mean, it's exciting to watch.
It is.
We'll get back together and touch base on it and figure out, you know, what's what here in the next week or so before you get out of town, and then, you know, get full depth of playoff. Maybe we'll have to pull you up on Zoom, have to bother you on your Vegas deathbed.
Yeah, maybe we could. I'm down. But, hey, man, you know, we talked a lot of football today, and our mailbag question is actually related to football as well.
Let's go.
The question is, what is your favorite level of football?
I'd probably say college, bro. And it's for a few different reasons. Obviously, there's a lot more passion in the college game. There's not really money involved, but with NIL and transfer portals kind of changed that a little bit. But it's still one of my favorite levels of football, I think, because I grew up watching college football with my grandfather a lot. Mm-hmm. Grandpa used to always have Notre Dame on, or used to have a game on in his room. My uncle would always have a game on in the living room, and they were big college football fans. And that kind of rubbed off on me a lot as a kid. And then playing high school ball, knowing that I was able to take my game to the next level, it was kind of, you know, I followed college a lot more. I love the NFL though, you know what I mean? But I just think college football, there's a lot more teams. There's just The possibilities are endless, which is why I'm so passionate about getting that playoff expanded, because when you start to get 12 teams in there and it's a potential of the number 12 seed can win the national title, I think that's pretty freaking exciting, dude. And you get the best football to come out of people. I mean, who would have thought TCU would go on the run that they went on at the beginning of the season? Who would have thought they would be in the national title game against the defending national champion, knocking off a team who a lot of people thought would win it all this year, and to come into the season, like you said, unranked and potentially winning a national title. You don't see that in a lot of sports.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you in college football. A lot of the same reasons. I think there's a lot more passion, right? You're still trying to get to the NFL, so you're still trying to prove yourself essentially, even though you're a high-end athlete. But also, man, just everything that goes into college football, right? You got the fan base, you got the bands,
Yep.
you got the environment of a college football game on a Saturday morning, bro. There's nothing like it.
Not at all.
The NFL is great, but you got a melting pot of a bunch of people who come together to be fans.
Yep.
And the college atmosphere, majority of the fans that are at that game are students.
Yeah.
And people that are going to students and alumni and families of the players who are there. So they truly do bleed the colors of the team that they're rooting for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot more passion in the game of college football.
And you kind of mentioned it earlier, right? Like with the kicker from Ohio State, like he's got to go to class still. He's got to go deal with these people on a day-to-day basis. Like I think that aspect of it where you're a star, but then you also got to go to class and you also got to go do this part. I think that's the part of it. It's like you're a man of the people still. You know what I mean? Honorable mention, small town high school football.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think all levels of football should adapt from each other, right? We're continuously growing. So the transfer portal is, a new thing for college football. I think high school maybe needs to adapt something like that as far as a transfer portal, instead of holding kids to say you can't transfer from school to school without facing a year suspension.
Right.
I think it's ridiculous. I think there should be some sort of rule or portal established that allows kids to leave from one high school to another in order to play with the coach that they want to play for, or play with in the community that they live in, or outside of the community they live in, because of the demographic of the school that's resides in their community. You know what I mean? I think we're kind of handcuffing kids to high schools, and it's not fair.
And I think it's done for, like, I think there's a reason why they do it. And obviously if they change that, I think it'll be kind of like the Wild West like you see now. But I think it's up to us, regardless of how it happens. Like if it does change, it's up to us to kind of make it to what we want it to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's up to us to form it. It's the same thing with like the transfer portal now. Yes, the transfer portal seems like the wild, wild west. You got people just leaving and going to different schools, right? At the same time, it's up to the community of football, of college football, to kind of form that into what it needs to be. Things change all the time. Life evolves all the time, and it's up to the game of football, whether it be high school, college, or NFL, to adapt and change with the times.
Yep. And even at the youth level, right, they're starting to see a lot more teams become traveling teams and go and playing teams outside the state.
Opposed to playing like just in their own little
opposed
city.
to just playing in their city.
Yep.
I think that's great. I think we need to have a lot more true state championships where all the teams from the state play
all the best
every
teams.
team from the state, and we have a true state champion that represents our state in some of these national tournaments. And then
let the regional champions play in a tournament. Like you got the Western Slope, Northern, the Southern, the Eastern. Let them all play together in a championship.
Exactly.
Right?
And I love that we have these all-star teams that we have the NOCO all-stars and the SoCo all-stars, which are Northern Colorado and Southern Colorado teams that are built to go out of state. Shouts out to them, because you're giving all these kids a great platform for other success outside of Colorado, and I applaud all you gentlemen. But it would be nice to see one team that is a team at the beginning of the season win a state championship, and then take that same exact roster and go somewhere else and see how we line up against people.
It raises the profile here. It makes Colorado football better, makes Colorado high school football better, which in turn will get them 4 or 5 star recruits coming out of Colorado, because it's only 1 or 2 here and there. You know, the Blake Purchases, the Gavin Sawchucks of the world. You know, it's a handful of them. So I think that raises the profile for high school football. So I agree with you, bro. I'm with it. But yo, man, it's been another great episode.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, just want to give some shout outs. Shout out to Arsenal Custom Apparel, Rebel Promotions, Black Sevens, Janice's Catering, Cutthroat Barbers and Anglers. Shout out to your wife. Shout out to my wife, family, everybody, man. We appreciate y'all listening. Everything that you guys do for us, make sure you hit up DNASportsDenver.com. Go out and cop some merchandise. Sign up. Get a training session in. Give us, some feedback on the show. Make sure you follow us on our socials. Dom.
Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that he mentioned. Shout out to Lash All Beauty and Shar.
Oh, yep. Shout out.
Shout out to all of our loved ones, our families, our friends, everybody who was out there. Hopefully everybody was safe for the New Year's. Again, leave the drama behind in 2022, and let's look forward to the future of 2023.
Yo, let's hit 23 with our tongues out, ball in the air, going for the basket, man. We about to dunk it. I hope you guys have a great start to the new year. For Coach Dom, I'm Coach Al. It's DNA Sports Podcast. We out.